What's up, guys? Welcome to Touchdown Talk, where everything and anything football goes. I'm your host, Jason, and today we are going to be recapping Monday night's game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos, as well as looking forward to our Thursday night game between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's get right into it. I know it's a bit delayed, but we're going to get into it with Monday night's game between the Seahawks and the Broncos. Now, this was basically a one-sided game. The Denver Broncos couldn't get anything going. They were terrible in this game. Russell Wilson was bad. Nathaniel Hackett made a couple of mistakes, especially at the end of the game. But let's look at the Seahawks side first and what they did right. Now, the Seahawks were able to stop Russell Wilson. They were able to hold down the fort on the Denver Broncos. The defense caused 2 fumbles at the goal line towards the end of the game when it was crucial to the Denver Broncos to score. The Seattle Seahawks stopped them at the goal line, forced 2 fumbles, one with Melvin Gordon and one with Javonte Williams. Really huge for the Seattle Seahawks. And for their offense, they finally were able to protect the quarterback. Now, we all know that Russell Wilson had problems with the O-line at Seattle, and that was one of the reasons why he wanted to leave. He wasn't getting protected. They wouldn't get new offensive linemen. And as soon as he leaves, they were protecting Geno Smith. Denver couldn't get anything going on defense. Bradley Chubb didn't show up till the second half, and it was because of the Seattle line. Now, the Seattle O-line held out for Geno Smith, and Geno Smith performed extremely well. Geno Smith played well in this game. He was able to throw to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. He was able to find the open guy at times. They were able to run the ball with Rashad Penny here and there. And for their defense, as I mentioned, causing 2 fumbles is a big play. Now, Tyler Lockett made the plays he needed to. He's not the number 1 guy there, DK is. And when you look at DK Metcalf, he didn't play extremely well, but he was able to get the job done for what the Seahawks needed on Monday. So week 2 is going to be a test for the Seahawks, having to face the San Francisco 49ers. But with the Seahawks, they looked alright. They looked okay on Monday. They didn't look like one of the best teams, but they are 1-0, and they got the win. Now, as for Russell Wilson, he came out of the tunnel and they were booing him as soon as he hit the field. They were booing him all game long. He couldn't get anything going. He was terrible in this game. For a guy who was returning home with a better team, a better O-line, a better backfield, a better defense, a better everything, aside from maybe the wide receiver room, it was insane to see how bad Russell Wilson played. And as I mentioned, Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams both fumbling in the end zone at the 1-yard line when those should have been 2 touchdowns, which would have given Denver an easy victory. Now, they got to clean up those mistakes. Melvin Gordon can't fumble. Javonte Williams can't fumble. Williams was one of the guys who everyone was saying was going to break out this year, me included. I thought this was going to be Javonte Williams' year. As for Melvin Gordon, he's getting up there in age, kind of a veteran at this point, but he's still getting a bulk of the carry with Williams. And with the runs that he's getting, he's not making the most of it, and he's fumbling at the goal line. That's a problem. Now, if Javonte Williams didn't fumble, it could have been a whole different game. Seattle probably loses, Denver gets the win, and who knows how much we see Melvin Gordon going forward. But the fact is, Williams fumbled as well, so Gordon's still going to get a decent workload. Now, as I mentioned with Russell Wilson, he didn't make that many plays. Aside from a few throws to Cortland Sutton and a deep ball to Jerry Jeudy, where Jerry Jeudy was just able to take it 40 yards down the field, make a move on a defender, and get in the end zone after he tightrope down the sideline, Russell Wilson didn't play good. The offense didn't play good. The O-line didn't play very well. They were the first team to lose 2 fumbles from the 1-yard line since 1987, as I mentioned. With the fumbles, it's a crucial part. And the defense couldn't stop Geno Smith. As sad as that sounds for Denver's defense, they couldn't get past the Seahawks O-line. They couldn't stop Geno Smith, and they weren't able to get the win. Russ wasn't able to get the win. At the end of the game, you have a 4th and 5. You're trying your field goal kicker out there for a 64-yarder. Now, yes, you agreed with your kicker that the 46 was the goal. You got to the 46, so you go with the kick. But you don't pay your quarterback the money he's making, over $200 million, for him to sit on your bench on a 4th and 5. Now, regardless of if he makes this kick or not, now people could change their mind saying, oh my God, he's a genius, he made the kick, and they won, great coaching. But we're at the point where he made the move to get the kick. They missed the kick. They lost the game. And we're going to talk about it. A 4th and 5. You're paying your quarterback $200 million plus. I think he's making around $260 million. You traded for him. You gave up the pieces for him. First round picks, your tight end. And 4th and 5 with under a minute left, you're taking the ball out of his hands. Now, 50 seconds on the clock, you have to call that timeout right away. Because when you call a timeout, you're able to have as much time as you need, and then if you don't convert on 4th down, you still have time left on the other side. Now, or what they could have done instead of just wasting the entire clock and calling a timeout, get to the line, do a silent count, and try to get them offsides. If they get offsides, that's a free first down, an extra 5 yards, and that's an easier field goal. If they don't get offsides, you call the timeout regardless, and then you go from there. Terrible coaching at the end of the game, regardless of the decision he made. You have to wait and call that timeout sooner, or you wait and try to draw him off sides. That way, it's not a waste of the whole 30 seconds. Big mistake. Even Peyton Manning on the Manning cast was asking them to call a timeout. All in all, terrible showing from the Broncos. They got to turn something around if they want even a slight chance of winning that AFC West and making the playoffs. But let's move on to our Thursday night game, which I am excited to watch between the Chargers and the Chiefs. Not only is this a AFC West matchup, not only are these two teams both 1-0 going into week 2, not only are they fighting for the division for first place, but they are also two of the highest scoring offenses, two of the most electric offenses, and they have two of the best quarterbacks in the league with Mahomes and Herbert. Now, I get Keenan Allen is out for this game. They said he was out. No Keenan Allen for this game. They said J.C. Jackson was questionable, so we'll see if he can return. For the Chiefs, Harrison Butker is out, so we'll see what they're going to do at kicker. Maybe Justin Reed trots out there. Maybe they just go for 2 every drive. We'll see what happens with that. But for these two offenses, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game without a doubt. I think it's going to be a lot of passing. I think it's going to be a lot of touchdowns. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But with the Chargers and Justin Herbert, their offense is hot right now. Justin Herbert had 3 touchdowns last week. And yes, Keenan Allen's out in this game, so they're going to need a step-up game from Josh Palmer. Now, some of you may not know who Josh Palmer is. He is currently the 3rd-string receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers. He came in last year when Allen and Williams kept going down with injuries, and he was able to show up for the Chargers when he needed to. Now, they also have Jalen Guyton on this team, but I'm going to focus on Josh Palmer for this game. Josh Palmer's going to have to take over for the offense because you're going to have your number 1 guy on Mike Williams. At this point, you might as well double Mike Williams. Not a lot of people know of Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer's not one of the best receivers. He's not one of the most well-known receivers. But if you want to double Mike Williams, go ahead. Leave Josh Palmer one-on-one. He can go short like Keenan Allen. He can do the slant route. And he also has the dynamic ability to go for that deep bomb when Justin Herbert needs him to. So I'm looking forward to watching this Chargers offense. I'm looking forward to Josh Palmer. And I'm looking forward to Josh Palmer getting into that end zone for the Chargers on Thursday night. Now, for their defense, they're going to need to find a way to stop Patrick Mahomes. Now, they were able to stop the Raiders' offense in a sense, but when you look at it, Devontae Adams over 150 yards, that can't happen with the Chiefs. Now, yes, they don't have that guy at receiver, but if you drop Derwin James onto Travis Kelce, that could be a very crucial part of your game. Now, yes, it might take away a little bit from what you can have Derwin James doing at safety, but if Derwin James drops down to cover Travis Kelce, that's basically one of the best safeties against one of the best, if not the best, tight end, and you have a better shot at guarding Travis Kelce if he's manned up with Derwin James, especially how good Derwin James is, how fast he is, how explosive he is. I think he'll be able to take Kelce out of the game if they want to go that route. And then that only leaves your cornerbacks to guard your wide receivers. Now, if you throw Asante Samuel on Juju Smith-Schuster, then Patrick Mahomes is only able to throw to MVS and Sky Moore. Now, yeah, those are still good options, but I think the Chargers defense is a lot more manned than the Chiefs offense. I think they have a lot better guys on that defense. They have Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and Sebastian Joseph Day on the D-line. So if you can cause pressure and make Mahomes have to scramble, that could be a key part of your game. If you can get pressure and get to Mahomes, that could frustrate the Chiefs. if you cause pressure and then have another guy blitz, that could be a good spot. I think the Chargers know what they're doing on defense. I think they know their roles, and I think they have that in them to be able to stop this Chiefs offense. Now, as for the Chiefs offense, as I mentioned, you have these receivers in Kelce, but Travis Kelce can't be the only guy. Because if Derwin James guards him, that could basically be Kelce out of the game, even though we know how they work Kelce and how Mahomes loves Kelce. You're going to need your guys to step up at receiver. Like I mentioned, Juju, MVS, and Sky Moore are going to need to step up. You're going to need a big game from one of those three. Now, as I mentioned, Asante Samuel will probably eliminate one of them, but I'm expecting the running backs to be the key part of this Chiefs offense. Now, I know on the other side I didn't talk about Austin Eckler, but we know what they have with Austin Eckler. We know how they operate with Austin Eckler, and the Chiefs don't have that many guys to really stop him. So I think when you look at the Chargers offense, I think they are fully loaded. And when you look at the Chiefs offense, it's a bit blown up now with how much star power the Chargers defense has. When you have three guys coming at you from the D-line that are all good, you're going to need someone to step up. Now, I think in this aspect, it has to be Isaiah Pacheco or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, Helaire had 2 touchdowns last week, and Pacheco had 1. I think those two have to step up and both get in the end zone for the Chiefs to win this game. Now, for the Chiefs to win this game, I think they're going to need Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire to have a big game. The running back receptions are going to be key in this game because we all know Mahomes loves to throw the ball. So you can run a couple of 2-back sets. If you have Pacheco in, he could be your dump down guy. Same as for Clyde. Now, when you look at CEH and when you look at Pacheco, I think it's going to come down to these two. I think the Chargers will do a very well job of stopping the run with these two guys. I think they'll do a good job of stopping Kelce and the receivers. So it's going to come down to these guys out of the backfield. If these guys can make any moves on that D-line, especially going against Bosa and Mack, it's going to be difficult for this Chiefs offense. And when you look at their defense, the key part for them is going to be causing turnovers. If you can make Herbert make mistakes, if you can make him turn the ball over, if you could force a fumble from the receivers, if you could force a fumble from Eckler, I think that's going to be key for your team. Now, if neither team gets a turnover, or if only one team gets a turnover, I think that could be a very deciding role. But I think the Chargers have a bit more at the wide receiver market. I think they have a bit more on offense. I think they have a bit more on defense. And I think for the Chiefs, with Butker out, do you go for 2 every drive? Do you have Justin Reed kick the ball? We saw him go 1-1 last week. He made one and missed a PAT. He also bombed the ball when he did the kickoff, which was extremely well. So we'll see what they do in the kicker aspect for this game. I'm going to be taking the Los Angeles Chargers over the Kansas City Chiefs Thursday night, prime time on Amazon. Now, if you enjoyed this video, I'm going to be doing this all season long, like I mentioned. All year long, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We'll be recapping games and looking forward to the next games. Also breaking down the news over the league. Now, if you enjoy my video, drop a like. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy all my other videos, I will see you guys next time.